Ever felt trapped by ancient beliefs that no longer make sense in our modern world? You're not alone. Millions are questioning the very foundations of faith, struggling to find meaning in a universe that seems increasingly chaotic and indifferent. In fact, over 14% of the global population is now unaffiliated with any religion, a growing trend that signals a profound shift in our being. Today, we are uncovering religion, God, and spirituality in a whole new light, from hidden psychological needs to the real purpose of belief and the ways in which religious systems and moral frameworks have shaped society. One of the most provocative frameworks for understanding the evolution of morality comes from Friedrich Nietzsche. He introduced the concepts of slave morality and master morality, two opposing ethical systems shaped by social power dynamics. Master morality, originating from the powerful elite, values strength, assertiveness, and life affirming traits. It defines good in relation to noble characteristics like courage and independence. On the other hand, slave morality, born out of resentment by oppressed, emphasizes humility, compassion, and communal welfare. Nietzsche criticizes the rise of slave morality, especially through Christianity, for undermining individual potential and suppressing life affirming values. In Nietzsche's view, religion propagates slave morality to the detriment of human greatness and creativity. In the genealogy of morals, Nietzsche introduces the concept of creditor-debtor relationship to explain how religion functions. Humanity, Nietzsche argues, has placed itself in eternal debt to God. Original sin, for example, makes humans perpetually indebted to their creator. And how do we repay this debt? Through sacrifice, obedience, and rituals. But here's the catch. This debt can never be fully repaid. In fact, this debt is used as a form of control, keeping people subservient to religious systems. Nietzsche argues that this dynamic is harmful as it traps individuals in a cycle of guilt, shame, and penance. The feeling of eternal indebtedness prevents people from creating their own values and living authentically. What drives us to believe in a higher power? Sigmund Freud offers a fascinating perspective. In Totem and Taboo, Freud argues that early religious rituals were created to control base instincts like violence and lust. These rituals, however, have since morphed into justifications for power, material greed, and even violence, all under the guise of piety. Freud also explains how humans humanized nature by attributing human qualities to natural forces. This primary instinct laid the foundation for religious thought, projecting human emotions and experiences onto the divine. For Freud, religion functions like an illusion, a psychological defense mechanism that shields us from life's uncertainties, just as a kid seeks comfort from a father. Individuals turn to religion for security, but while it provides comfort, Freud argues religion also imposes control by forming a superego that internalizes societal restrictions. Sigmund Freud's understanding of religion gains depth when viewed through the lens of early human evolution. Faced with an unpredictable world full of existential threats, early humans experience heightened anxiety as survival depended on predicting external dangers. Religion, according to Freud, emerged as a mental map offering psychological comfort in the face of uncertainty. Just as they sought patterns in nature to understand seasons or animal behavior, humans turned to religion to explain abstract forces like life, death, and the afterlife, providing a framework to navigate the unknown. Freud suggests that religion in many ways serves to suppress our primal desires, allowing societal order to prevail over our baser instincts. Religion, in a sense, can be understood as an evolutionary selection process of belief systems. Early tribes allowed their gods to compete in the abstract space of human thought, and the gods that promoted cooperation and order eventually dominated. Over time, the most functional belief systems were institutionalized, forming the moral and cultural frameworks we see today. In this way, religion evolved as a low resolution map of reality, influenced by both internal and external forces. Internally, it's shaped by the collective unconscious and our biological drives. Externally, it's molded by real world threats like dangers and conflicts. The belief systems that helped humans survive and thrive were the ones that endured. For example, morality, often linked to religion, is biologically rooted but framed through divine interpretation. Societies built on cooperation, fairness, and altruism thrived over those rooted in selfishness. By associating moral behaviors with divine will, religion fostered accountability and unity, promoting large scale cooperation. One of Nietzsche's most famous declarations is that God is dead. But what did he really mean? Nietzsche wasn't talking about the literal death of God, but rather the decline of religious belief in society. With the rise of science, rationalism, and individualism, Nietzsche saw that religious explanations for the world were becoming less relevant. However, Nietzsche didn't necessarily view this as a triumph. He warned that the death of God would leave a moral void, one that could be filled by dangerous ideologies like nationalism, government control, or even extreme individualism. Without a shared religious framework, Nietzsche predicted a crisis of values where individuals would struggle to create their own moral systems. As Carl Jung later noted, modern humans, disillusioned with religion, have turned to political ideologies as their new belief systems. Democracy, capitalism, communism, these have become the new religions of the 21st century. Can we create our own values? Nietzsche championed the idea of creating one's own values, a concept tied to his notion of the overman. But is this really possible? Primatologist Frank Duvall argues that moral behavior isn't unique to humans or exclusive to religious doctrine. Empathy, cooperation, and altruism have deep evolutionary roots, as seen in primates. These traits are part of our species' evolutionary heritage, predating organized religion. This challenges Nietzsche's idea of creating entirely new values. As we cannot fully escape our biological instincts, religion may have formalized moral codes, but those behaviors are intrinsic to human survival. Because of this shared evolutionary heritage, religion and secular institutions fulfill similar human needs for order, meaning, and social cohesion. Even when we attempt to create our own values, we often end up developing frameworks that mirror religious principles. Both systems establish moral frameworks and community bonds rooted in our psychological makeup. So even in a post-religious world, we find ourselves bound by the same primal instincts that shaped religious belief. Throughout history, individuals and leaders have manipulated religious language to mask their personal ambitions and justify immoral actions. Hitler, for example, invoked Christian symbolism and rhetoric to lend divine legitimacy to his genocidal agenda, portraying himself as a defender of Christian values against perceived enemies like Jews and communists. By framing his political and military objectives as a holy mission, Hitler masked his true desires for power and racial purity under the guise of religious duty. This tactic of using religion to cloak selfish motives have been repeated by many, exploiting the deep emotional power of faith to manipulate the masses. Whether through appeals to divine will, providence, or judgment, these bad actors hide behind a moral facade while pursuing their own destructive goals. As we evolve as a species, our relationship with the divine, whether we call it God, nature, or the human spirit, is changing. The question is, are we ready to embrace this new understanding and create meaning in a world where the old certainties no longer hold? Perhaps as we move beyond the traditional confines of religion, we will discover a new spirituality, one that aligns with our evolving consciousness and the complexities of the modern world. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on how to navigate the complexities of modern life. See you on the next video.